Good morning once again. Today we are launching a coalition that builds on the legacy of many before us, and one which is united in the goal of securing a credible and respected constitution for Zambia. This coalition is a testament to our collective commitment to advocate for the full review and reform of the Zambian constitution, which is a call that Zambians have expressed for a very long time. Ladies and gentlemen, the call has not been for reforms just for the sake of reforms. The call has been for more democracy, which is to say more accountable institutions, equitable distribution of resources, transparent decision-making, greater autonomy of the judicial system, a working system of checks and balances, and appropriate system of separation of powers, more devolved governance, independent and accountable local authorities, and generally a stronger human rights protection framework. Coincidentally, it is only with the things that Zambians have called for that we can address the many challenges that we face today as a country. Ladies and gentlemen, our constitution must be a document that reflects the will of the people and that stands the proverbial test of time. It underpins everything that we can be as a people, politically, socially, as well as economically. However, many of the challenges that Zambia faces today, such as national debt, corruption, weak governance, and political tensions, stem from our inability to pass a supreme law that upholds democracy, ensures good governance, and protects the rights and freedoms of every citizen of this country. This coalition will therefore advocate for a clear roadmap that ensures both the process and the content of constitutional reform are solid, transparent, and protected from narrow interests. And I think we have been on this road before, so we know what we're referring to. We call upon the government to give this reform the same, if not greater urgency than it has given, even to the economic recovery agenda. This is because without a sound constitution, that forms the foundation for a governance framework that ensures equity in resources, accountability, transparency, and protection of human rights, our economic recovery may not yield the sort of results that we are hoping it will yield. We recognize that many coalitions, such as the Oasis Forum, CISCA, as well as the Grand Coalition, have made and indeed continue to make significant strides in this respect. And rather than reinventing their wheel, this coalition seeks to learn from and build on those efforts, carrying forward the momentum for reform whilst adapting to today's challenges and opportunities. Ladies and gentlemen, our collective work ahead is not going to be easy. We must be patient with each other as we navigate differing perspectives, but we must also remain united in our common goal of delivering a constitution that serves the interests of every single one of us. The need for inclusive engagement is therefore paramount, and we must ensure that the voices of the marginalized are heard and respected throughout this process. This coalition presents and is presented with an opportunity to advocate for comprehensive review and reform, addressing not only governance issues, but also economic disparities, human rights, as well as social justice. Let us therefore move forward with determination and unity, ensuring that Zambia secures a constitution that is equitable, that is inclusive, but also one that is just. We should ensure that Zambians and Zambia is at the center of these reforms. If any of us should waver, let us remind each other of the importance of our work for the people whom we serve. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your participation today and urge all of you civil society organizations, as well as other stakeholders, to join us in this very vital endeavor. Together, we can shape a future where the Constitution truly reflects the will and aspiration of every single Zambian. With these few remarks, I thank you and welcome to this event. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the welcome remarks. And I think that Mr. Nyambe is just stressing the issue of coming together as a collective unit also recognizing that the Constitution is really where everything stems from. And also stressing the issues that I think this coalition is committed to in this process, which is ensuring that this constitution secures enhanced civil and political rights, but also economic, social, and cultural rights. And finally, a core for unity and a core for having an end result of a constitution that will stand the test of time. So thank you so much for the welcome remarks. Can we clap? No, it's the breakfast. So, okay. So again, I want to call upon Transparency International to speak to the terms of reference of the CRC. They say in Tonga man. Oh, okay.
Thanks so much. I will. It looks like there are many lazy people in this room, so housekeeping issues.
I think that yeah. So we have included the national anthem on today's agenda. Maybe we can stand for the national anthem and then we'll go into the terms of reference. Me starting it today. I've been saved. We will have it played by.
Stand and sing, O Zambia, proud and free, land of wake and joy in unity. Victors in the struggle for their rights, we've won freedom's fight. Oh, one strong and free. Africa is our own motherland, fashioned with and blessed by God's good hand. Let us for our people join as one, brothers under the sun. Oh, one strong and free. One land and one nation is our cry. Dignity and peace needs Zambia's sky. Like a noble eagle in its flight, Zambia, raise to thee. Oh, one strong and free. Praise be to God. Praise be. Let's sacrament. Zambia. Free men we stand under the flag of our land. Zambia, praise to thee. Oh, one strong and free.
Okay, I was tempted to say prayer. Okay, thanks so much, Director of Program. Let me begin by mentioning that the journey to the ceremony that we are witnessing today has not just started, or it began a few months ago. So we had several consultations with regards to the formation of a CSO Constitutional Reform Coalition, and the three organizations, TIZ, Chapter 1 Foundation, and Alliance for Community Action, they were having different activities around constitutional reform in line with their respective mandates. A number of other organizations, of course, including NGOCC and many more, have been having activities, let me say, like more or less like in silos with regards to advocates around constitutional reform in Zambia. But we thought that perhaps we could put all these efforts together so that we can build a critical mass with regards to the agenda that we are trying to advocate for. And hence the move to ensure that we can come up with a civil society constitutional reform coalition, of course, amidst already other existing coalitions, and we hope that perhaps with even those other coalitions, we can still bring efforts together so that we can actually solidify and have a comprehensive coalition that can speak with one voice. So having reached at that level, we of course developed what we are calling the terms of reference. And these terms of reference were not only developed by TIZ or Chapter 1 Foundation or Alliance for Community Action. We had different meetings where consultations were done with respective civil society organizations to ensure that we can develop these comprehensive TORs that will bind this coalition. So this is a new coalition, okay, on constitution making in Zambia, and we hope that it can provide fresh and dynamic approach to coordinating stakeholders or civil society organizations and leveraging on different experiences and lessons that these different organizations do bring on board. So this coalition, of course, aims to adopt a comprehensive, inclusive approach and play a pivotal role in ensuring that Zambia finally achieves a constitution that generally reflects the will and aspirations of the people. So what I'm going to present here is what we have agreed upon not too long ago, because these were circulated for commenting for different organizations. But of course, it is a document that can still be refined. So let me go to the core principles. So the core principles of this coalition will include inclusivity and representation, includes transparency and accountability, independence and impartiality, collaboration and coordination, human rights and democratic principles. In terms of objectives, of course, the director of program did mention about the objectives, but let me quickly also just run through. The objectives of this coalition are: one, to promote a people-centered constitution; two, to ensure inclusivity and representation; three, is transparency and accountability; number four is to enhance public awareness and education; number five, of course, is to monitor and evaluate the process. So these are the five objectives for this particular coalition. In terms of membership, of course, membership is open to like-minded civil society, but of course, non-partisan institutions and also individuals who will demonstrate or have demonstrated commitment to the ideas and objectives of this coalition. Number two, the membership to this coalition, of course, is not restrictive to affiliation or membership to other coalitions as long as they do not conflict with the objectives of this coalition. In terms of membership process, a member, of course, will be required to fill in a membership form. So will be required to submit a membership form to be reviewed and approved by the steering committee. Then there will also be a payment of an annual membership fee to the Secretariat of 250 kwacha for institutions and 100 kwacha for individuals. Ratification of membership will be done by the General Assembly when they convene. Revocation of membership. If an individual member has been convicted for a crime, then they cease to be a member. If the stated or apparent objectives of a member have evolved to conflict with the objectives of this coalition, they may seek to be excused. If a member does not pay a membership fee for 2 consecutive years, then they cease to be a member. If a member does not participate in 3 consecutive meetings of the coalition, if a member becomes politically active, then you may be excused from this particular coalition. I quickly move on to Secretariat. The composition, of course, there will be a general secretary responsible for the overall coordination and strategic leadership and also management of the coalition's activities. Okay, publicity secretary, this will be responsible for managing the coalition's communication strategies, both internal and external. This will include handling of the media relations, public awareness campaigns, social media presence, and many other related aspects. The coalition also will have an angle of treasury, where we'll have a finance officer here to oversee all financial aspects of the coalition, including budgeting, financial reporting, fundraising, and many other related aspects. Programs and membership coordinator. This one will manage the coalition's programs and initiatives, ensuring alignment with the coalition's objective. They'll also be responsible for coordinating membership process, including the onboarding of new members, managing membership records, and facilitating member engagement and participation in coalition activities. Then we have the Secretariat roles and responsibilities. I'll just give 3 here. Of course, Secretariat will manage the coalition's logistical and operations aspect of the coalition. They will also be in charge of coordinating with various stakeholders. Of course, they will facilitate partnership and collaborative efforts. Decision making. The governance structure of the consortium is as follows. There will be a steering committee of 7 members, including a chairperson, vice chairperson, secretariat, a legal counsel, and 3 general steering committee members. Number 2, the steering committee members shall be voted into office directly by the general membership every 2 years. Okay. Okay, every 2 years. Number 3, the general membership meetings shall take place every quarter unless an ad hoc meeting are called by the Secretariat. The steering committee shall meet at least quarterly before the general membership meeting. In terms of decision-making process and voting rights, ratification of new members' applications will be done by the general membership, as already said. The steering committee will be responsible for fundraising, advocacy campaigns, and day-to-day planning. The secretariat will be responsible for annual financial reporting and many other related aspects. So a steering committee member can be removed through disciplinary actions in case of the 5 aspects. 1, failure to attend 3 meetings, like already mentioned, conflict of interest, representation of the coalition views, and professional conduct, and breaching of confidentiality related aspects. In terms of operational framework, meeting schedules and procedure, meeting schedules, meetings to be held quarterly or once every 2 months. Procedures, need to establish a quorum. This is a 50+1 representation would be more ideal. Chairperson to change the consortium meeting to chair the consortium meetings. If the chair is not available, the vice chairperson will chair. In an event where the consortium fails to make a decision, consensus will be reached through voting. Communication and strategies, of course, there will be internal communication and also external communication. Internal communication will officially be done by the chairperson through emails, WhatsApp meetings, and virtual meetings, even a physical one. Then external communication will be done by the coalition spokesperson through press briefings, radio, TV, and press releases. Documentation, of course, the Secretariat will be responsible for all documentation and will be supported with electronic devices for documentation. Financial management, budgeting and financial management procedures for the consortium will follow the budgeting and financial management procedures, preferably used by the Secretariat selected to do so. Reporting and accountability mechanisms used shall be those that apply to the Secretariat and shall provide financial report and budgets to the coalition every quarter. Monitoring and evaluation, the coalition shall implement a monitoring and evaluation framework that will be approved by the coalition and implemented by the Secretariat. Conflict resolution, there is established, of course, there will be an establishment of 3 members, including the chairperson, the legal advisor, and 1 member to handle conflict related aspects. So this will be part of the conflict mechanism. Then amendments to the TORs, a request for change, if it comes, should be submitted to the chairperson in writing at least 2 weeks before a general membership meeting, where a decision for amendment will be taken, and any amendments shall be effected immediately. So basically, this is what we have developed for ourselves, that we can live by these TORs with regards to this coalition. I submit. Thank you.
So thank you very much. I will not go through the terms of reference, but I just want to say that they are, I guess, leading the way in transparency and accountability. They are telling this audience, and we have media with us, that this is what you hold them to. They have spoken to the principles that they stand by, and so you can measure them based on those principles. And I think that the other reasons why the terms of reference are being made public is really that you can see that what they want to do is facilitate this process. So you're very clear about what you're coming into. I note that under the membership is organizations and also individuals. I just want to stress that. So we don't have to be coming from some organization or institution, just as Zambians. And I think the core from this CRC is that they'll be extremely inclusive, rural, urban, different categorizations of people in this country being invited to be part of this drive. So thank you so much for the TORs. And like I said, it's now an open book. People know exactly what they're coming into. And if they're interested then in joining this noble cause, I think that is the core. Can I now call upon the Chapter 1 Foundation Executive Director to give us his keynote address? A hand for him, please.
Good morning, everyone. Allow me to ride on the protocols already established to save time. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, colleagues, and fellow citizens, today we gather to mark what we hope will be a key occasion in Zambia's constitutional history. It is a moment where we, as civil society, take a bold step in shaping the future of our nation's governance through constitutional reforms that are long overdue. This is not just an ordinary gathering, it is the beginning of a collective journey towards a more just, accountable, and inclusive Zambia. This gathering may appear small, but I assure you that today we do not stand as individual organizations, but a collective voice for Zambian people whose voices have continuously been ignored in these discussions. We stand united not only in purpose, but in the belief that Zambia deserves better. Our constitution is the cornerstone of our governance and should reflect the realities of our time and the aspirations of the people. The challenges we face, ranging from economic disparities, the lack of institutional accountability, and political instability, demand a governance framework that can rise to meet them. And it is clear that the current constitutional framework is falling short of this demand. But today is not merely about pointing out the shortcomings of the past, it is about looking forward to the future and ensuring that our constitution serves all Zambians and not just a few. As we embark on this journey, we must remain united. Constitutional reform is not the responsibility of a single organization or individual. It is not the responsibility of government alone, but it's a step that must be taken collectively. It requires collective effort from all sectors of society. We are launching this coalition as a platform for that collective action, and it must serve as a reminder that unity is not just a goal, but is a necessity. The diversity of perspectives and experiences in this room is one of our greatest strengths. Our coalition must bring together civil society organizations, legal experts, community leaders, and citizens from every corner of Zambia. We may come from different backgrounds and represent different interests, but we are bound by a common purpose: to build a constitution that empowers citizens, upholds justice, and ensures transparency and accountability in governance. In this effort, we must ensure that every Zambian has a voice. Constitutional reform should not be dictated by a select few, nor should they be influenced by narrow political or economic interests. Instead, this process must be grounded in the will of the Zambian people. It is only by involving every Zambian, from the rural villages to urban centers, market traders to professionals, that we will create a constitution that reflects the true aspirations of our nation. Ladies and gentlemen, we recognize the valuable contributions to our shared objectives from coalitions such as the Oasis Forum, CISCA, and the Grand Coalition have had towards Zambia's constitutionalism. We seek to build on their work and success in ensuring a constitutional order that reflects the will of the Zambian people and orders our governance in a way that works for the people. These previous efforts highlight the pressing need for a coalition that can build on past experiences. Ladies and gentlemen, as the saying goes, we are standing on the shoulders of those giants. A better Zambia is not a destination, it is a never-ending journey. So this is not a first step, but one of many on this journey. This coalition comes in response to a profound recognition that the need for legal framework that reflects our core values of democracy, justice, and equity. Our goal is not only to revive the momentum for constitutional reform, but to ensure it is comprehensive, transparent, and genuinely inclusive of all voices. Ladies and gentlemen, the task is not easy, and we must engage even with those who are opposed to our views and try to find common areas of agreement and consider and appreciate their opinions and perspectives. If everyone wants a better Zambia, if everyone has a common goal, we must be able to dialogue and see how our different paths to a better Zambia can align. This coalition's success would depend heavily on our ability to bring together technical expertise, broad stakeholder dialogue, and genuine partnerships. The reform process is not a simple task, and we cannot afford to take it lightly. We must seek out the expertise of constitutional lawyers, policy experts, human rights advocates, economists, governance specialists to ensure that our proposals are robust, comprehensive, and feasible. Technical dialogue is an essential part of constitutional reform because constitution making is not just a political exercise. It is a deeply technical process that requires detailed analysis, legal precision, and clear understanding of governance structures. We need to analyze and address the weaknesses within our current constitution that have allowed for corruption, the lack of accountability, and inefficiency to take root. This includes critically examining issues like separation of powers, the independence of the judiciary, and the role of local government in decision-making processes. It is crucial that we engage with parliamentarians, government officials, and other key stakeholders to ensure that our reform proposals are not only informed by best practices, but are also grounded in practical realities. We cannot afford to work in isolation. The road ahead will require strong partnerships, not just within civil society, but also across political divides, between government institutions, and with our international development partners. Together, we must ensure that the technical discussions surrounding reform are accessible to the public and that they translate into practical, meaningful changes that positively impact Zambian lives. This coalition must provide a platform where all voices are heard and all technical expertise is brought to bear. We must be prepared to listen, to learn, and to compromise where necessary, always keeping the best interests of Zambians at the forefront of our efforts. We must be clear, Zambians are at the center of this process. This is not a reform for politicians or special interest groups. This is not a reform for individual organizations or people. This is a reform for the Zambian people. From the market stores to classrooms, from villages to towns, the voices of Zambians must be heard in every step of this process. We must engage with communities to raise awareness about the importance of constitutional reforms, making it clear that this is not an elite-driven exercise. It is about empowering citizens to hold leaders accountable, to demand transparency, and to ensure that government works for the people, not the other way around. To achieve this, we will need to facilitate broad-based consultations, town hall meetings, and public discussions that allow Zambians to participate meaningfully in shaping their own future. Ladies and gentlemen, we must be vigilant. History has shown us that any attempt to introduce meaningful reform will face resistance. There will be those who argue that the current system works well enough, or that the constitutional reform is too complex or too expensive or too risky. These arguments are not new, and they often mask the self-interest of those who benefit from the status quo. Ladies and gentlemen, as threats and risks will always be a part of such reform processes, we must ensure that we consider the threats and risks and develop appropriate mechanisms to address the threats and mitigate the risks. There are also many direct threats to this process, those who may seek to co-opt the reforms for their own political or financial gain, or those who attempt to derail the process altogether. We cannot allow such threats to undermine our efforts. It is our duty to safeguard the integrity of the reform process and to ensure that it remains focused on the needs of the people. We must remind each other about our common goal. Our coalition must be strong, resolute, and prepared to confront these challenges head-on. We must speak with one voice, pushing back against any attempt to dilute the reforms or manipulate the process. This will require ongoing vigilance as well as commitment to transparency and accountability within our own ranks. Ladies and gentlemen, the Constitution is the foundation, but the people hold the power. Let us not forget that while the Constitution provides a foundation for our governance system, it is the people of Zambia who hold the real power. Constitutional reform will only succeed if it is embraced, understood, and supported by the Zambian people. Our role as civil society is to facilitate this process, to provide platforms for the technical expertise and dialogue necessary to empower citizens to take ownership of their constitution. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I call upon every Zambian, every civil society organization, every institution represented here today to commit to this process. The road ahead will not be easy, and we will face many obstacles. But if we remain united in purpose, if we protect the integrity of the process, And if we place the interest of the Zambian people above all else, we will succeed. This coalition is a testament to the power of unity, dialogue, and partnership. Together, we will ensure that the constitutional reforms we seek are not just words on paper, but a living, breathing document that reflects the aspirations of every Zambian. Thank you for your attention, and may God bless Zambia.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Kalala. And I think that perhaps that's why it's called a keynote address, because really it's speaking to what, moving forward, what this journey is all about. And I think one important aspect of the keynote address, and I think somebody stated it yesterday, when in this address you speak to, first of all, that you're not going to reinvent the wheel. So you understand that there's been processes before, and you will learn from those processes, only to make yourselves a stronger coalition. And I think that what you're saying in a nutshell, and like I said, somebody did state it, I don't remember who yesterday, that process protects content. So when you speak about bringing people together, when you speak about the fact that there will be detractors, when you speak to the fact that this coalition needs to be vigilant, you're trying to protect the outcome. In terms of content, the keynote address is a call on all of us. You have spoken to the fact that you're bringing all the different stakeholders together. And also, I think you're recognizing that constitution making, even though the participation is from every corner of this country, at the end of the day, it's a legal document. And so you will have to, engage or work with legal experts in ensuring, I like the term that, we always use, stand the test of time. And people always give an example of the American Constitution in terms of when it was birthed, and that it has just stood the test of time. So again, this is another effort, and I think we should applaud this coalition today. Maybe we just give ourselves a hand of applause. Okay, so who is Blessings? Who are we? Blessings. Yes. Could you come? So Blessings is going to give us a poem. Yes.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So the title of my poem is "We Need a Constitution." In Zambia's heart, a constitution beats a document of power where freedoms meet, but flows and gaps like cracks in the floor threaten the foundation. We yearn for more accountability, transparency, and participation to predictability. The pillars of good governance shine through, but arbitrary power, like a shadow, looms near, silencing the voices and quenching hope and fear. The judiciary, a defender of human rights, must stand independent like a beacon in flight. The civil society, a watchdog vigilant and strong, must scrutinize the state where power does belong. A people-driven process, inclusive and fair, is the only way to show we truly care for a constitution that reflects our will, not just a document, but a living, breathing steel. We need a constitution that protects our rights, not one that silences our voices in the night. A document that speaks for the people by the people, not a tool for oppression, but a symbol of freedom's steeple. Let's take each other back. From previous reforms and benefits, we confess. Multi-party democracy, presidential term limits, we progress. Therefore, we need a constitution that shines, come what may. A constitution that does not have a separate document containing the Bill of Rights. We need a constitution written in plain language, no more jargon. Reaffirm a value-driven constitutional project, no more argon. The goal is not to weaken the government, but to find a balance, no more resentment, strong enough to govern, but trammeled by restraint, no more abuse of power, no more pains. We need a constitution that's truly ours, not one imposed by colonial powers. A document that reflects our hopes and fears, not one that's tailored to suit the interests of a few peers. We need a constitution that's inclusive and just, not one that excludes or marginalizes the trust of the people, by the people, for the people it stands. Not a document that's used to silence the land. We need a constitution that's a living thing, not a relic of the past, but a beacon that shines and sings. A document that adapts to the changing times, not one that's rigged and refuses to realign. So let us rise and take the challenge to write a constitution that's worth of our age. A document that's born from the hearts of the people, not one that's imposed by a privileged few who seek to conceal their interests, their power, their greed, and their might, but a constitution that shines with the light of justice, equality, and freedom for all. A document that stands for the rights of one and all. So let us march towards a brighter day with a constitution that leads the way, a document that's born from the hearts of the people. We need a constitution that's truly ours, a constitution that's truly free, a constitution that will always, I say, a constitution that will always stand a test of time. We need that constitution. Thank you.
Very nice. That poem wraps up today's meeting. You know, she has spoken to everything that every speaker has highlighted. Can I suggest the coalition need not take this suggestion, but I can see this as nicely framed. You know, wherever the officers of the coalitions will be, so that it shows that at the start of the journey, you know, that there was that embodiment of the launch of today's event. Okay, so can I ask that maybe you just give us 2 minutes? We just thought that it would be good if the signing ceremony, you know, they didn't come up one at a time, but we just put a table and they sit also for the media to capture them together as opposed to one individual. And move to the next agenda item, which is the signing ceremony.
Apologize for failure to follow protocol on what is on the agenda. I feel that this discussion is a very important discussion, and the speakers that have eloquently spoken have given a very good, you know, guide on what this coalition should be. However, I think that there might be one or two thoughts or questions that might need to be clarified. So I seek your indulgence if before the signing ceremony, which I'm not opposed to, we can maybe allow for just maybe 2 or 3 questions, if there is, and of which I do have some questions to that fact.
Can I suggest that after the signing, because you will note that there's networking at the end of the agenda, if it's okay, can we have a small discussion, then the vote of thanks? Because you see, the question will run, and maybe we don't really want to stifle people. So just hold on to your thought. Let's do the signing ceremony, and then we will allow for some questions. Is that okay? You want to stop the signing? That one question will stop the signing. Yeah.
Jimmy, now you make it sound as if I've insisted. I accepted it. Take the sign of our for the chairperson. Thank you. Thank you for the consideration, colleagues. So I have three questions, colleagues. The consultation has been very, very good. I've in one way or another participated in, and even aware of the process of wanting to have a civil society coalition on the constitution. However, after the TRs have been raised, I'm made to want to understand three things. One, where are we? I hear from the presentation or from the talk, we have a steering committee, we have a structure that has to be put in place. So I just want to understand where are we, what have we put in place so far, which institutions, apart from the three that have been talked about in the leading process, which other institutions are on board in the steering committee. Secondly, this is a noble cause, colleagues, and every person would want to be part of it. And in most cases, we would want to, of course, make it very clear on who's on board. But when we put the membership fee there, what are we trying to do? Is it just for a purpose of fundraising, which I understand that the coalition steering committee and those that will put in place will have a responsibility to raise resources to carry out this noble cause. So is it just a deterrent to let other not join? If not, maybe clarification on that. And then how do we ensure nationwide representation? From this gathering, I know that most, probably some of organizations that are here, yes, do have representation in different parts of the country. But this is a very important meeting that needs countrywide representation. I know there's been a call to other members to come on board, but what are we putting in place to ensure that even possibly on the steering committee and the structures that have been put there, we're ensuring that this is a nationwide representation for us not to have a back and forth, and I think issues that have already been alluded to, ensuring that this process is smooth. Those issues are things that made me raise my hand. I couldn't keep them to myself. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Yes. Yeah. Just to be another thorn in this auditorium, for me, it's actually just more of a comment and suggestion. And I think we had made this suggestion earlier when we received the TORs. My name is Mark Ngoma. I'm from Restless Development. Looking at the structure of the secretariat, I've noticed, for instance, that the treasurer/finance officer has the authority or has the mandate of looking at the financial aspects, which includes fundraising. But from previous experiences, I can let the quorum know that fundraising and, for instance, financial reporting, budgeting, and basically just financial management are two different aspects altogether. So we might have to consider the structure once again, particularly when it comes to mobilizing resources, because at the end of the day, if we're a coalition with a fantastic cause, with a mandate that is necessary, but if we're unable to raise resources to conduct our activities, it will make all efforts futile. So we really need to consider having just the fundraising aspect on its own and ensuring that that's a whole different unit. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think congratulations to TIZ, colleagues at Alliance for Community Action and Chapter 1 Foundation for leading this process. I think based on the first speaker, I just wanted also to just make a suggestion. And I don't know whether at this point it's possible to vary the terms of reference. If we're going to be inclusive, are we then suggesting that only those that are able to pay can join the coalition? So maybe in an effort, realizing that we have quite a number of our people that want to reach, we spoke about rural areas that might be financially challenged. Could they be a clause that then allows people to apply, but then also seek a waiver and giving justification so that the collision then is sort of like inclusive?
Okay, thanks so much for the questions and suggestions. The first question, where are we? So basically here, I would say that this is just a starting. The TORs have been developed, and after organizations have signed or given consent that they will be part and parcel of this coalition, that's when we'll come up with issues of who is going to be the composition of the secretariat. Okay, so right now we don't have the composition of the secretariat. We'll start by signing, then after that, the follow-up activities, of course, will be to come up with the composition, who will be practically there. Okay, in terms of why put a membership fee, the thinking behind here is a seriousness which is attached to this coalition. Because again, if we open it up to each and every person, we will have people that are jokers and they are part of the coalition. We'll have people that may represent us in terms of membership and so forth and so on. So behind this particular aspect of putting a fee in here is to ensure that at least people who are serious can come and join this particular aspect. Let me combine it with the issue of applying for a waiver. I would say that organizations that are here have got different mandates and they operate in different rural areas and so forth and so on. It could also be good that you identify those people and you support them to be part and parcel of this particular coalition just by paying for them 100 kwacha. Okay. How do we ensure national representation and gathering? Of course, like I indicated in the beginning to say that the consultative process was actually a nationwide aspect. And CSOs that are here, this is just a ceremony, meaning that we are representing even those that are in provinces and districts to be part and parcel of this particular aspect. So those that we have taken note of, that we have worked with before, or that we have consulted, we will definitely send them this particular form when this meeting is done, so that they can also endorse and be part and parcel of this particular coalition. That's how I can handle these questions. Thank you.
That the finance person shouldn't be the one to deal with the finances and also fundraising. Who would like to add?
I think it was a comment, but I hear what
Do you
Mark
agree
is
with-
saying, except that maybe using the clause that allows for members to call for amendments and clarification, we could use that. When you read further in the TORs, you find that there is a fundraising committee as well, away from the finance officer, that is established within the TORs. And I think the fundraising aspect falls more on them, and the management of resources that have been raised is what falls on the finance officer. So maybe we just need more clarity on that aspect. But in terms of there being a standalone fundraising component, you'll find it in one of the committees in the TOR as stated. Thank you.
I think those were the questions. But I just want to also perhaps, do I also hear the coalition saying, yes, you pay the 250, you pay the 100 for membership, but your outreach and participation is across the country in the work that you're doing. Is that what? Okay. So are you satisfied with the waiver and that it's supposed to install discipline, that you just don't get every person joining, but only those that, you know, suffer a little and therefore are more serious with their engagement. Don't worry, you will go to the General Assembly. No, no.
There are people that would manage to pay the 250 or institutions that would pay, but that does not mean they are serious and committed to this process. So yes, it's a good, and this is why I was asking, is it just for fundraising purposes or it's a deterrent in who would want to belong to this coalition? So for me, it's not a good justification for seriousness, really. Thank you. But let's make progress.
All right. So perhaps with no further questions, I would like to call the three institutions or organizations to come and sign the commitment document. Okay, so I think they have inked the document and we can just give them a hand of applause. You are also being invited. I believe that the document, the consent form for endorsement of terms of reference for civil society coalition on constitution reform making is sitting on your table. You are being invited to equally sign the document in agreeing with the document. If you have authority to sign it. are you ready to do it immediately? Sorry, are you able to remove it just now? Okay. Are we done? Okay, so perhaps now I'd like to call Alliance for Community Action to give us closing remarks.
Allow me to ride on the protocols previously established. Colleagues, thank you very much for supporting the event this morning. And as both previous speakers have noted, this is the beginning of what is going to be a long and sometimes difficult journey. And I do pray and hope that we are going to stay the course. Today, as we have observed, marks the launch of the Constitutional Reform Coalition, made up of CSOs seeking to combine efforts to advocate for the full reform of the Republican Constitution, as has been desired and demanded by Zambians for decades. This coalition builds on multiple other citizen efforts to give Zambia a credible and respected constitution that, in reflecting the will of the people, will be a document that stands the test of time. And I think this term has been repeated several times today. As stated by my colleagues earlier, the Constitution underpins all that we as a people can be politically, socially, and economically. It is also true that many of the prevailing socio-economic, political, and environmental challenges that Zambia is facing today are as a result of the country failing to pass for itself a supreme law that upholds democracy, guides and assures good governance, and safeguards citizens' rights and liberties. These challenges include a national debt crisis, corruption, weak financial and governance accountability, inequality in the delimitation of constituencies, a sluggish decentralization process that has left large parts of the country depressingly underdeveloped. The country also suffers ongoing political tensions that has, I beg your pardon, and it also has a Bill of Rights that needs urgent amendment to protect the full complement of human rights, a constitution that reflects the will and needs of the Zambian people and advances the shared good of all citizens is the starting point for answering many, if not all of the above issues. Among the issues that this coalition advocates for is a roadmap that will provide protection, solidity, and certainty of both process and content of constitutional reform. We hope the government will give the constitutional reform the commitment, agency, and profile given to the fight against corruption, economic recovery, and other areas they've shown interest. As a coalition, our commitment is to generate public awareness and demand a constitutional reform process in Zambia that is inclusive, participatory, and delivers a solid constitution accepted and respected by all. Ladies and gentlemen, we therefore are happy to present the Constitutional Reform Coalition, comprising of all organizations that have today indicated their membership. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much. I haven't indicated. Did you have one for individuals? No, I just wanted to quickly ask, like, so for individuals, I guess institutions are able to get in touch. Do they go to each of the three individually, and that secures the document? Like, how does an individual get in touch? Because there are three institutions that signed off.
Thanks for that. So for individuals, they can reach out to Transparency International Zambia, and then they'll be able to be given further guidance. Thank you.
So I guess that's also organizations, right? Okay, thank you. Just wanted to know. Okay, so this comes to the end of the launch, but as all the speakers have indicated, the journey begins now. It's a call to action. All of us here in this room, but also to spread the word. And I think the main message also is that for sustainable development, you require a constitution that embodies the wishes and aspirations of the Zambian people, but also a constitution that stands the test of time. So on that note, thank you for coming. Have a lovely, lovely Friday. It's been a long week. And we will proceed to take a picture outside. And if people want to continue with breakfast, please do so. But thank you for coming, and that's the end of the program.
I know media. We've been the media again.